Okay, thank you, and welcome to the December 11th special meeting of the Larkspur City Council. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Way.
Here.
Councilmember Hilmer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Chu, acting mayor.
Here.
I'll let the record know that Councilmember Hoff is excused.
Thank you. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now's the time in our meeting where we allow the public to address the City Council on a matter that is not on our agenda tonight. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to? Okay, see a show of hands here. Okay, just for the record, please state your name and your address or city or however you want to identify yourself.
Short. Hi, my name is Robin Muller. I live at 36 Cedar in Larkspur, and I've been there since 1983. I'd like to thank you and Ann Morrison for your years of service to the city. But I'm here tonight representing the Climate Reality Project and Drive Clean Marin to talk about electric vehicles and the importance of accelerating our movement away from gasoline-fueled vehicles. Our climate is changing. All the forecasts say that the changes and their impacts are going to get worse. And science has confirmed that human activity is largely the cause. It's a daunting subject, and it's hard to know what to do about it or how to do it. Well, there's a specific action that we can take right now that will have a huge impact on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and slowing climate change. That action is to accelerate the transition to electric vehicles for transportation and to power them using renewable energy sources like Marin Clean Energy's Deep Green or PG&E's local solar. You may ask, why EVs? It's because passenger vehicles in Marin account for 40% of the county's greenhouse gas emissions and 28% of statewide emissions. In addition, passenger vehicles consume 35% of all petroleum products in the U.S., causing vast geopolitical and environmental problems. These are big numbers, and we're talking just about passenger vehicles. Tailpipe emissions are also a major source of air pollution in the Bay Area, resulting in worsening of asthma, bronchitis, and cardiovascular disease, among other things. Simply put, the only direct path to a significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions is a transition to electric vehicles fueled using electricity from renewable energy sources. Many people are inclined to think that it must be someone or something else that's causing the problem and is responsible for identifying the solutions. But it's not someone or something else, it's us, you and me. We're the ones who are choosing to continue to drive vehicles that burn fossil fuels and discharge GHGs into our atmosphere. And we are the ones who are responsible for making different choices. Here's the amazing part. The vehicles, the infrastructure components, and even financial incentives are all available now to transition to EVs. We just need to act. Please join us in support of a transition to electric vehicles fueled from renewable energy sources. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you, Robin. David. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I have to jump in and let you know, because it'll be in my city manager's update, but the city just added its first 2 electric vehicles to the city fleet on Monday morning. So,
All right. I'm David Muller. I also live at 36 Cedar Avenue and 36-year Larkspur resident. And I'm going to follow up a little bit on Robin's introduction here. What we're asking, it's not just a statement, it's really an ask here, is we're asking you as a government body to provide leadership by adopting an aggressive goal of 40% of the registered vehicles in Larkspur being zero-emission vehicles by 2030, 1 decade, and taking 3 specific actions now to help move us all toward that. First of all, adopt a policy that going forward you will purchase EVs for your municipal fleet whenever feasible. Thank you. You're on a good start there. Secondly, support and streamline the process of developing more fast public charging stations in the Larkspur jurisdiction. And then finally, support and streamline the process of developing more private charging stations at residences, at workplaces, and especially at multi-unit dwellings. In each case, we're asking that you not just establish these as goals, which you may have already done, but rather we're asking that you adopt specific policies and allocate funds to your budget to get things done on the ground as part of your climate action plan and as part of your general plan. Absent supportive policies at the county and city level, the transition to EVs will lag, and a key opportunity to quickly reduce Marin County's carbon footprint and achieve the county's critical Drawdown Marin project goals will be missed. We can provide you and your staff with policy templates and fact sheets on several EV subjects, including charging infrastructure. We're well aware that there are at least 2 multi-jurisdictional county-level groups that are looking at climate change issues, the Marin Climate and Energy Partnership, which we understand the planning director is involved, and Marin County Council of Mayors and Council Members, as well as Drawdown Marin. But we're asking that you take specific action as the city of Larkspur. Now, 2 jurisdictions in the county already have taken these. Town of San Anselmo has adopted some supportive policies, as has the city of San Rafael. We know that you have many issues. We've been to many council meetings over the years to consider and many calls for action. But what we're talking about here is the climate crisis that within the next 10 years is going to overtake all those other issues. And here's an action that you can take today that will help moderate that crisis. It would be great if we could count on our federal government to take the lead on the climate actions, but as you well know, our federal government is taking very little action in this area. That makes it all the more important that jurisdictions who recognize climate control as real and an imminent threat take the actions that are within their jurisdiction, which actions combined with those of other jurisdictions will cumulatively add up. That's why we're coming to you tonight using this public comment time, because we're counting on you to take a leadership role on this. And following up Robin's comment, again, I want to thank you for your kind attention to this, and we really look forward to working with you over the next many months to move even further in that direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. If you wanted to leave any of your comments with the city manager, they can be part of the public record. Okay. Next on our agenda is the city manager's report. Maybe it's
I
not.
think
I'm
we're
just doing
we're
it on a half-
dispensing with some of those more menial business items.
Okay.
Let's skip past this action item, that's why.
Okay, so what we have actually, no reports tonight. So we have presentations and proclamations, and I will kick that back to our city manager.
Well, I think for a lot of folks in the room, this is a bittersweet moment to bid farewell to Vice Mayor, Acting Mayor Chu. I'm not sure what I should use as your title other than Larry, because you've always been so warm and accepting to all of us. And so I appreciate the chance to just say that to kick us off. But there are a number of agencies and entities that want to recognize you, and I think I'm going to look at Councilmember Way, and she's going to kick it off with the city of Larkspur, and then I know there are some other folks that want to speak, and then I think the general public would also probably like to have a chance to talk to you.
Okay, thank you.
So you're going to have to sit here and listen to all these things. So how we're going to do tonight, we have 3 or 4 official proclamations that came from our elected representatives on the statewide level and also our countywide level. But we're going to start with what we in Larkspur have said. And when we're done with that, I'm going to open up the microphone to anybody who wants to give a few minutes. If you don't need to, if you don't want to. But if you do, just come up to the microphone and state your name, and we'll know who is here. There's still a few seats if anybody wants to come in. I know it's getting kind of hot in here, but all right, Larry. A proclamation of the Larkspur City Council recognizing Larry Chu upon his retirement as a member of the Larkspur City Council. It's actually in a very nice framed picture, but I get to read this part. Whereas Larry Chu was first elected to the Larkspur City Council on November 4th, 2003, and dutifully served the residents of the city of Larkspur for 16 years. Whereas throughout his time on the council, Larry served as mayor 3 times in 2006, 2011, and 2015, as vice mayor 4 times in 2005, 10, 14, and 19, and represented the council on boards and commissions too numerous to name, if we're going to keep this proclamation to 1 page. Whereas Larry demonstrated time and again his passion for and commitment to our community's children through work with organizations like the Boy Scouts and the Little League, as well as his assignments to committees that work directly with schools, safe routes to school. Whereas Larry addressed the critical issues of substance abuse among young people by helping establish the Twin Cities Coalition for Healthy Youth, a model replicated in other communities and that most recently evolved into the Marin Healthy Youth Partnerships. Whereas Larry's advocacy of shared services between Larkspur and other agencies started many key conversations, including the outreach that ultimately led to the formation of the Central Marin Fire Authority. Whereas Larry never shied away from analyzing difficult subjects, particularly those with fiscal impact, heading countywide efforts to consider the implications of pension and other post-employment benefit costs. And whereas unproven yet, but certainly true, is that many a complicated financial matter passed over the last 16 years, not because all were comfortable in their understanding of the item, but because Larry Chu was voting in the affirmative. In this, there is perhaps no greater compliment, and I echo that. You are absolutely essential in helping me understand financial things. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Catherine Way, not mayor yet, but mayor of the city of Larkspur, express the gratitude of the city council to Larry Chu for his service and leadership in the city of Larkspur, and as the day of December 11th, 2019.
Thank you.
And to go along with that, we have a gift, excuse me. Go along with that, we have a gift. I'm sure you know what it is, but you don't know what's in here. And this is because we know how much you love Burritoville, that now you have to come and dine at Burritoville. And we could. So, and I think Councilmember Hilmer has something from our county representative, Katie Rice.
Thank you, Catherine. Before I read this proclamation from the county, I just want to echo the spirit in which Catherine read the city's proclamation and the expression of the trust that Larry helped build among our team members. And it's really a fine example of the trust in our council that many of you who've served up here with us in the past have helped build. So I think that community feeling is kind of what Larkspur is about, and I want to say Larry's the finest illustration of that spirit.
Thank you.
This is a resolution from the Board of Supervisors of Marin County recognizing Larry Chu for his service to the city of Larkspur and to the greater county of Marin. Whereas Larry Chu, having been first elected in 2003 by the citizens of Larkspur to serve the Larkspur City Council, having been reelected and served as mayor 3 times during his tenure, will retire from office in November 2019. Larry grew up in Daly City, moved to Corte Madera in 1982, and then to Larkspur in 1988, where he's since lived with his wife and raised his son and daughter. And by profession, some call it his day job. Larry's worked in the financial services industry since 1979 and graduated with a BA in computer science from Berkeley and an MBA from San Francisco State. Larry's service on the City Council complemented, often concurrently, with a plethora of civic engagement and community service, including serving on the Marin Council of Boy Scouts of America Board of Directors, as an ultimate coach at Redwood High, baseball coach for the Twin Cities Little League, coach for Marin Girls Softball, as a board member for the Larkspur Library Endowment Fund and Larkspur Foundation, as a co-chair of the Twin Cities Coalition and for Healthy Youth. Whew. While serving on the council, Larry lent his unique skill set and applied his keen analytical mind as a representative to the Marin Telecommunications Agency, the Transportation Authority of Marin, Central Marin Fire Authority, Central Marin Police Council, Joint City Schools Work Group, and too many ad hoc committees to count, including the Marin County Council of Mayors and Councilmembers Subcommittee, the Disaster Preparedness Subcommittee, MC Pension, and other post-employment benefits reform subcommittee, and more. Whereas the City of Larkspur, Twin Cities, Ross Valley, County of Marin are stronger, more cohesive, and in sounder financial shape and better prepared for the challenges facing communities across the county and state for the hard work and contributions made by Councilmember Larry Chu. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Marin and District 2 Supervisor in particular hereby thanks and commends Larry Chu for his many years of dedication to the City of Larkspur and County of Marin. Signed, Katie Rice, Supervisor, District 2.
Nice. I think next we have Joan Lundstrom, Emeritus Council Member and Mayor, who has a representing
Another mayor.
representing Mark Levine. I said.
Joan Lubomirsky, ex-mayor of Larkspur, and field representative for Mark Levine. I have a California State Legislature certificate of recognition from both Assemblyman Mark Levine and also Senator Mark McGuire. Larkspur City Council 2003 to 2019. All right. Celebrating your distinguished public service career as mayor and council member, as well as your contribution as a community volunteer. Your council work included membership in the police, fire authority, and so on. And also, Larry was president of Marin Mayors and Councilmen, actually in your first term. Which was a real tribute. Your involvement as president of Boy Scouts of Marin and managing and caring for Marin youth, and your commitment in youth development. Your intelligence, tenacity, and dedication set you apart. You are a true civic treasure. And this is December 11th, 2019, our Assemblyman and our Senator. And I'm very glad to present this on behalf of Joan Lubomirsky, who can be here.
Thank you.
I think though those are the end of our official proclamations, the whereases. So I'd like to just, if Larry doesn't mind, we'll open it up for a few minutes. If anybody wants to say anything from the audience, please come up to the podium. Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm Sandy Blauvelt with the Larkspur Community Foundation, and a number of our board members are also here to honor you tonight. You have, what a star you've been. Your leadership has shown, and people can follow in your footsteps if they could. But you've been among many things. So reliable, always true to your word, and committed to the community. And as you know, our foundation's middle name is Community. But we want to thank you for all you've done and all you've meant to the community. You've served so beautifully. And as a thank you, I'm present. And for you and for Taz, your marvelous wife. So,
Larkspur hats. Yay.
Larkspur hats, which Larkspur, and it has on the back our zip code. And you can switch colors if you want. I'm going to get this one to Taz.
Thank you. Kathy?
I'm Kathy Hartzell, and I'd like to also just say a word about the pleasure I had working 8 years next to Larry. The campaign might have been a little scratchy as we were running for office and had some different views on a few topics. But the minute we were sworn in, it was a very different situation. it was obvious that Larry was a hard worker. Larry was true to his beliefs, true to his goals of service to the community. He thought of the community first. And it was also everything that Catherine said in the proclamation on behalf of the city was very true, because while I might have thought I knew how to work with budgets, there was so much to learn that I did learn some of it from Larry, and probably should have learned more, but that's always time in the future somewhere. It was wonderful. I enjoyed those 8 years working with you very, very much. Your support of the projects I worked on was phenomenal and unwavering. And I think another testimony to your strength in the community is also your family, because Taz is a giver to the community. Your kids have been involved in the community. The work that they do today, going forward, is modeled in the footsteps, what do you call it? The shoes, footsteps, following the footsteps of Mom and Dad. And so we were very lucky to have Dad be part of our team. And thank you very much, and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, Kathy.
I see another ex-council member, Mayor.
Larry, you are a class act, and that's why so many people are here to honor you tonight. And while I only got to serve with you for 4 years, I was incredibly envious of your laptop computer that you kept on the dais, and were able to look up everything and provide the information that none of us knew. You are a tremendous resource. You always have been. And all I can say is to the new council members that are coming in, devote a couple of days of your time to read the minutes of old council meetings within, say, even the last 12 months, and look and see what Councilmember Chu said, and it will be a guidepost for how you should conduct yourself going forward. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Len.
Well, I think Larry's going to stay, and we'll stay for a few minutes after for anybody who would like to say something and not want to come up to the podium. So that's terrific. Anything you want to add?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody who came out here, tonight, not only to bid me farewell, but also to welcome our new council members. I think I would be seriously remiss if, my family here is in the first row. Tasman, my wife, Kira, my daughter, and Dennis Clements, my future son-in-law. So Jonathan, our son, is at Boise State, so his finals aren't over for a couple more weeks, so he wasn't able to join us tonight. But they said, I was mayor for 3 times. If I look at the last 5 weeks, because of the retirement of our previous Ann Morrison, our prior mayor, for 5 weeks, I guess that makes it 3.1 times. But for 3 times, they could say that they were part of the first family of Larkspur. And for Kira, if they decide to have grandchildren or anything like that,
No pressure.
yeah, no pressure, but they can say, well, we were part of the first family of Larkspur. And it's like the Super Bowl. They can't take that away from you. I don't know how many people follow football, but in my day, and I'm sure there are other people in the room who roughly grew up, in the 60s and 70s. In those days, you scored a touchdown, you tossed the ball to the ref, and you trotted over to your sidelines. And, that's kind of how I want to leave in large degree. I don't need to do the end zone dance. But it is really heartwarming to see everybody here and having the acknowledgement of both my current colleagues as well as my previous ones. Joan Lundstrom, 28 years on the council. Jan didn't want me to say it, but 26. Okay, and then, like Joan Lubomirsky, Ron Arliss. Joan couldn't be here tonight, but Ron was here earlier. 20 years there. Larry Longtoe, 16. And then Kathy Hartzell is 8. Sorry that she had left early. I mean, we could have kept that run going. But, now Catherine and Kevin have been here now for 8. And, the city is in really good hands. And with the staggering of this, talent that we have on our current council, plus 2 new people coming in who, Scott represents another representative of Greenbrae, and, half our population's in Greenbrae. So that's a good thing. Gabe is coming on, and he's got young children, and that's kind of where I started. There's a connectiveness in this community when you have not only the people who live here who no longer have kids, but also the ones that do have kids. So you're going to get a good mix back up here, at the council. So, and, you get a chance to welcome them in just a moment. But we cannot do this without the help of our staff. And it starts with Dan Swartz, our city manager, and one of the other people that council actually hires is the city attorney, and that's Sky Woodruff, who couldn't be here tonight. But Dan has put together what I believe is one of the best management teams and staff teams in the county. Now, other people might say that's a biased opinion, but if everything comes down to what we've accomplished with the resources we have, being at the crossroads of the 2 heaviest traveled roads in the county, and basically being beat up on by every community around us because everything that we do affects them, that they have just been stellar in managing this city on a day-to-day basis as well as long-term for us. We have long-term plans that go out 5-10 years when it comes to finances and capital improvements. So Dan and his staff, they are keepers. And I just want to thank you for all the support that you've given to me personally while I was mayor, and to the council when you're here every other week just like we are, and adequately preparing us to make us look good, when in fact it's you and your staff that's doing everything. And of course, the whole kind of like 3-legged stool to this whole thing is usually, our residents. We have a really engaged, community here in Larkspur. It doesn't look like it when we have the most important discussions of the year, which I believe is finance, because finances drives everything, and then there's no one in this room. But ultimately, from what we understand, when people come back to us and tell us what they've seen on TV, they're watching us every week. So, having it now kind of cable casted into your living room does make it so that there's also more transparency, but it does get our community much more engaged, and with a more engaged community, we're able to work together better. We don't have the consternation that you see in other places around Marin or other parts of the Bay Area. And certainly with things like the council resolution that Joan put together back in 2004 that was basically a code of conduct for council members and how we engage with each other, with staff, with the public, with our colleagues. You think that stuff like that is automatic, but it's not. And those are a good broad set of principles that allow us to have civil discourse and to have discussions where we don't always agree, but we can have good discussions and then come to a lot of times a good compromise for the whole community. So I've really enjoyed my 16 years. Doesn't feel like it. I keep saying I'm not going anywhere. I have things that I've already been either asked to do or doing already, and it's just going to be on the other side of the dais. So thank you again for coming out tonight. And for the new council members, there were 3 things that I didn't accomplish in my 16 years. I wasn't able to get a mid-block crosswalk in front of Ruley's. Wasn't able to get a pedestrian bridge over the Corte Madera Creek. And I wasn't able to combine governance between Corte Madera and Larkspur to call it the Twin Cities. But there's plenty of time for that, and we have heard those ideas come up at our meetings before. So it's your ball to carry now. Thank you. Okay, so I didn't know I was supposed to do the business items, but I will go ahead and do that. Yes, so at this point, although our city clerk is not here tonight, our city manager also has the authority to swear in our new council members. So can we have Scott Candell and Gabe Paulson come up to the front of the dais, please?
I've actually never done this before, but we asked our city clerk to attend a conference that started today where she's receiving some important training. So she deputized me so that this could be official and you could actually be on the city council. I'm going to give you the oath of office. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of California. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. And to the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. And now if you will both sign here, you will officially be city council members. So,
Okay.
Now we need to take you and put you on the dais.
Yeah. As a matter of
have a seat.
as a matter of protocol, it is an odd situation because we don't have a mayor, and I'm the vice mayor who is now retired. So it now gets passed to the immediate past mayor, who is Councilmember Dan Hilmer. So once again, I would just like to thank everybody that is here tonight, my council colleagues, the new council members, our staff, our boards and commissioners, and our friends and neighbors here that have all been so supportive of my 16 years here. Thank you.
Yay, Larry. Standing ovation.
Thank you. Someone said if I take my name tag, they can't put it back.
Now, before you move on to the next item, it's not quite as fancy or as nice as a crystal gavel, but we do have gifts for our new council members, which are business cards, so that you can even feel more official as a member of the council.
Yes, do you have the order? Here's the order.
The next item on this evening's agenda, item 4.2, are the election of mayor and vice mayor. So I would like to call for nominations for vice mayor.
I would like to nominate Councilmember Kevin Hara for vice mayor.
Second.
So you'll need to turn the little power light on.
Second.
Right here.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Kevin Haroff will be the vice mayor for the next year. Now I would like to call for nominations for mayor. Go ahead, please.
After you.
I would move that Catherine Way be nominated for mayor for the next year.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We'll switch chairs.
That's what it says right here. Switch chairs. The city clerk and city calls the, then you call the president. Good job, Dan.
Thank you.
You want to sit over here?
Sure.
You're up.
Oh, sorry.
And you are up next in the order of events. Yeah, you're supposed to call the volunteer firefighters. I'll take my lipstick cup.
Okay, now it's my pleasure to call up the president of the Volunteer Firefighters Association. It's a tradition here in Larkspur that the association presents this ceremonial gavel to the new mayor. And I have the gavel here.
Congratulations, Madam Mayor, and good evening, council members. I'm Dennis Gilardi, and I'm chair of the Larkspur Volunteer Fire Foundation. And with me is Mike McDermott. The Larkspur Volunteer Fire Foundation started its life, actually, you'll see in this booklet that I'm going to pass out. It was written by Bill Lellis with the help of Tom Forster, and it's a compendium of the history of Larkspur. The first meeting for the beginnings of the Larkspur Volunteer Fire Foundation was in August 1897. The official beginning of the fire department, we say it's 1908 to follow the Corporation of Larkspur, and our articles of incorporation are dated 1913. What's important is that a group of men came together to provide protection for Larkspur. And it's evolved. We've gone from a small volunteer organization through a number of years and changes where volunteers were trained to be firefighters, to run into burning buildings, to the advance now of quite a bit of medical needs. And over those years of history, the volunteers raised money, and you'll learn about the Larkspur Rose Bowl. What's important, as Dan Hilmer pointed out, is look at old minutes. When I joined the volunteers back in the early 1980s, I read some of the old minutes. And the Larkspur volunteer firefighters actually bought $200,000 of war bonds in 1942. Gives you an idea of the wealth. And it came from the Rose Bowl. The volunteers paid for the first fire hydrant system in Larkspur, paid for the alarm system, the old boxes that used to be on telephone poles, and paid for and built the fire station next door, which we call Station 15. Purchased the first fire truck for Marin County, a 1916 Model T chain-driven fire truck that you see in the parades. What's happened over the last 30-plus years that I've been involved is that the need for volunteers in the fire service in this community has started to fade away because of where we are today with the Central Marin Fire Department, paid professional firefighters, a very advanced medical emergency system with the ambulances and the Ross Valley paramedics. And so the need for volunteers has changed. It's gone from a high-level need. We've morphed through a lot of different iterations. And today, and actually 2 years ago, we switched ourselves to a foundation to protect our heritage, our history, our physical assets like the Model T and other equipment that we have. And we are finding our way as to what we're going to be when we grow up now. We've been working with the Central Marin Fire, and we have been meeting with representatives of the Corte Madera Volunteer Fire Department. And what the future is going to look like is we'll probably morph up into the Central Marin Volunteer Fire Foundation. That's still in discussion stages and planning. The fire service moves very deliberately, and so we're not rushing anything. So for the council, I have a booklet for each of you, and in the front there's a medallion similar that we used originally for the coat checks at the Rose Bowl, and when we had our 100th anniversary Rose Bowl dance, we had these replicated, and so I've got these for handouts. Mike McDermott will speak to where we are today and where we're going, we think.
Thank you. So I think today a lot of the transition, and I think, Larry, you were part of supporting it and the disaster preparedness, and Catherine, you're a big proponent of it, and we've been trying to continue to support that. So we think, neighborhood disaster, neighborhood support, preparedness is something that is part of us, and how we can help do that and fund it, I think, is where we're going in the future. So as always, we like to provide you with the gavel. Yes. So there's something that's very important that might apply to the 2 new council members that my Uncle Skinny said. Okay? Stand up to be seen, speak up to be heard, sit down to be popular. Congratulations.
Thanks, Dennis. Thank you. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. You just witnessed a very traditional part of Larkspur. We're at a city that's been around since 1908, and our volunteer firefighters have been a very important part of our civic life here. So thank you very much for that. I'm just going to say a few words, and I know we all want to be home and out of here by 7:30, so there'll be a few short words. First of all, council and my 2 new colleagues, thank you for electing me mayor. I'm honored to represent this great city of Larkspur, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you and mentoring our 2 new council members, and also working with our staff for the betterment of Larkspur and its residents, its visitors, and its business. And I'd also like to extend congratulations to Kevin Haroff, who's not here tonight. He actually has a day job that needs to do a lot of work. And I'm looking forward to working closely with him in this upcoming year to be partners in solving a lot of these problems, and also to really look at the Green Bray community in much more detail than we have in the past, because half of Larkspur actually is in Green Bray, or about half. So look it up in the history books. You'll see that we are kind of a combined, interesting city that way. And it's lovely to see now that we have Scott on the council, who also is a resident of Green Bray, which I think will add more texture to what we're doing. I also like to thank Larry Chu very much, and a lot of the things that were said tonight, I don't need to reiterate because I agree with all of them, but he was really instrumental in my process of becoming a skilled council member, because he took the time and the effort to meet with me regularly when I was new and learning, and I always relied upon his financial acumen and his ability to just lay it out there without any BS. So thank you, Larry, for that. Second, I'd like again to welcome our new council members and to continue to work with Dan Hilmer, who is a fabulous source of really giving you a lot of information and history about what Larkspur's style and substance is, and I'd like all of us to rely upon that too. We all bring different strengths, both professionally and personally, to this community of people and issues, which I think makes Larkspur's council always has had really that ability to bring different backgrounds, different skill sets, and we've complemented each other very well, and I believe we'll continue to do that. Next, I'd like to thank our city manager, Dan Schwartz, and the entire staff. There's a lot of them are hanging out in the back there, but I know they're here. Professional cities employees is what makes a city work. Cities don't run by the council and the mayor making all the day-to-day decisions about what the financial relationships, the contracts, the employment relationships. And if you have a staff that's a hardworking staff, your city works really well. And this staff does a lot, from our Bon Air bridge replacement to now Smart Train is arriving, to just, if I could list all of them, the day-to-day work of a city is really an important part of the quality of life in a city, and I think we have an excellent staff to do that, and we want to continue to work with them. On top of all of that, with our staff doing day-to-day things, I began to really understand how much they have to spend time implementing the slew of new laws that come down from Sacramento every year, or twice a year sometimes. And we are now facing a tremendous amount of new rules that need to be applied to our city, involving affordable housing, involving accessory dwelling units, transportation, parking, all sorts of things that our city staff have to analyze and bring to us as the policymakers to implement. And it's a lot. And I've appreciated how much work goes into just not the day-to-day life of Larkspur, but in the application of California law. And then I looked back, I was mayor 4 or 5 years ago. I looked back on some of the things we talked about in our retreats the last couple of times about what we've accomplished. And to name a few, I just wanted to outline just a few. We really worked hard at consolidation and discussions of our Central Marin Fire and the merger of Corte Madera and Larkspur. And I thank Larry as really being a partner in this. And that is truly a model for the rest of the state in how two different cities and with long histories can work together with our professional firefighters. More sharing of services like that is something that we should be always looking at. We talked about revitalizing the Southern Magnolia Business District. Look at it now. It's really taken on a whole new life of vibrancy. We discussed in our council retreat enhancing communications, which allowed us to hire a assistant to the city manager to really focus on our media presence. Revitalization of the Chamber of Commerce. That was a really key part of what we were talking about with economic development. And we have a new executive director and a much more vibrant Chamber of Commerce. And a lot of that is due to Ann Morrison and her work with the Chamber in the last 4 years. So I want to give her a lot of kudos for that. Larry has been essential in creating really our understanding of our pension obligation and how Larkspur can take on our pension obligation and figure out a way to be sustainably able to fund it. And that is a huge mountain to climb, and most cities have not even started struggling with it yet. And I think with Larry's leadership, we were able to get pretty far along with that. Passing Measure B, which gave us our opportunity to repave our roads and to fix the decrepit roads that Larkspur had. And recent information has brought us up in the category of worst roads in Marin County, in the Bay Area, and we have gained significant points in our quality of our roads just because our citizens passed Measure B. And that was a lot of hard work by our city staff, and also Larry's getting a lot of acclimate tonight, so also Larry's work with that. And I think this council has also been very supportive of getting a mini park master plan, a storm drain, repair master plan, and a lot of other master plans ready to go when we get the capital to make it happen. So just a few things I'd like to say I want to focus on upcoming. I think the council needs to focus on maintaining and enhancing Larkspur's economic stability. We have a long history of fiscal responsibility in this town and debt management. But as resources tighten and demands for services increase, it creates a really interesting set of challenges. Larkspur and small towns like us rely on property tax, sales tax, and some additional tax measures. And if we don't keep our business community engaged and active, we lose a big chunk of sales tax opportunities. So really focusing on our revenue sources is something I'd like our council to continue to look at. That also involves cost-cutting measures if we can find them, but we have a pretty tight budget. I want everybody to take a look at it, and you'll see there isn't a lot of fat. There is no fat in that budget. Second, I'd like to continue to seek opportunities to share and consolidate services with other cities or agencies. We've got great partnership with the Central Marin Police Authority. We've had great partnership now with Central Marin Fire, and I think we need to be creative as a council and as a city in finding all the other opportunities to look at the redundancy of governance in Marin and how we can facilitate streamlining that. And lastly, it's to work with staff and this council on figuring out how to fund our infrastructure needs that we have. This is an old city. We're 100 years, and some parts newer, some parts older, and we have a lot of infrastructure needs. Along that, with the city plan to create a new library and community center, that is part of the city-owned infrastructure, and enhancing our storm drain, looking at this building and a 100-year-old city hall, how do we make it seismically safe? We're going to have to take some hard decisions about how we're going to fund significant infrastructure projects, because we're going to need everybody's help with that. Our city is lucky to have leadership now in the Larkspur Library and Community Center, and I'm looking forward to continuing that conversation in this year ahead. And lastly, I want to just talk about what public service to one's community means. I personally believe that service to community, in however way you define community, whether it's your school, your church, your Boy Scout group, or your town, is an essential part of citizenship. It's far easier to criticize and complain about government, but I challenge all of you who are here in this room and who may be listening to realize that through participating in local governance, you really have opportunities to change issues that matter in your day-to-day life. Whether the police show up when you dial 911, whether when you flush the toilet, the stuff goes away, that is really the day-to-day roots of what a city is in charge of. I know we all get frustrated with what's happening in Washington, D.C., but pay attention to local governance, because that's where you can really make a difference. So show up to meetings and sign up to be on boards and commissions. We need everybody's help to keep Larkspur the amazing community that it is. And together, all of us will continue to make this a prosperous place. One of my favorite AM talk show radio hosts always signs off on his radio show saying, "Democracy is not a spectator sport. Tag, you're it." So I want all of you to participate. Tag, you're it, because this is a democracy and we're a community and we're all in it together. So thank you. We have one business item tonight, and I know a lot of you are here for that. We have one business item, 4.3, which is the appointment to the Mobile Home Park Ad-Hoc Committee. We discussed at our last meeting. Do you want to give us, we don't need a staff report on that, do we? We've been having long conversations with about our 3 mobile home park communities in Larkspur. And at our last meeting, we reached an agreement that we would have an ad hoc committee of 2 council members and various other members of the mobile home park community to work together with our staff about some issues. So Vice Mayor Haroff has already asked to participate on that, and I'd like another nomination or appointment for the second council member who would like to participate. I think it was Gabe.
Yeah. I didn't think I nominate myself.
I nominate Gabe.
Thank you.
I second Gabe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed? Great. Well, thank you all for being here, and our next council meeting is 2020, January 15th. So everybody have a wonderful holiday, and look forward to the SMART train arriving on this Saturday. Larkspur's going to be in the news all weekend.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Oh, yes.
In the spirit of gratitude this evening, Larry, Councilmember Chu, Tasman, your family, thank you for all your sacrifices over the years. Also, I would like to thank all the board and commission members who've served the city over the years, including current, especially current. We're really a volunteer city, and it's through the hard work of neighbors, volunteers, board and commission members, all these tiers of volunteer effort together is how this works. And everybody loves the community feeling that creates, so take part. Thanks again. Happy holidays.
All right. We are adjourned until January 15th. Thank you.